could do the same. Those two teams will play the Hall of Fame game this year, kicking off the preseason on August 5th in Canton, Ohio. They were supposed to meet in last year's game. Meanwhile, the storylines for these teams, well, it begins in Pittsburgh for Ben Roethlisberger, back for an 18th season with the Steelers. He led them to an 11-0 start last year before losing 4 of his final 5, including a wild card loss. He's back for one more shot. For Dallas, of course, you know the storyline. Dak Prescott returning after a terrible ankle injury ended his 2020 season. Over the offseason, he signed that new contract with $126 million guaranteed dollars. We will see him a little bit later in the show, but right now let's talk about him. Rob Ninkovich, Kimberly Martin, and Mike Tannenbaum are here. And Ninko, it's interesting because the topic we wanted to get into is what exactly does that offense need to look like? What does Dak need to look like? But you brought up the fact from personal experience, he's got a major hurdle to jump over before he can start worrying about that.
Yeah, and that's his IR injury from last year. And look, every player has to go through an injury at some point. The hard part is when you're bouncing back from that injury, you can do all your rehab, you can do OTAs, mini camp, run around in training camp and feel fine and look great. When it becomes a live contact environment, that's when you start to think, okay, all this time and effort that I put into this, am I ready to go? Can I take a hit? Can I cut the way that I used to cut? And I'm going to go back to my own experience. In 2006, I tore my ACL, MCL, PCL. I had microfracture all in my right knee on a kickoff. And fast forward to 2007, I was released by the Saints. I'm with the Miami Dolphins. I'm with a new team. And we're playing in New York against the Jets. My first kickoff back from that injury, it took me a year to get back. It's a good thing I had a face mask on because people would have been like, why is he crying? And I just remember being so emotional because I just didn't want to be hurt again. I didn't want to have to go through that same injury. And I knew that if it happened again, my career was over. So the first hurdle for Dak is going to have to be getting back out there in live contact and just getting back to his old self. It's not going to be easy, but I think he can do it. And look, he's going to have to play at a spectacular level this year, especially.
I thought that was a really important story because the human side of this is so significant. Having said that, Kimberly, you look at a guy like Dak Prescott. He's going to have, now he has all the money, and so I think there'll be an additional expectation for that offense to open up for him to be flinging it all over the place. But is that an offense that should run through him or should run through the running game?
It should run through Deke. Dak and Zeke. That's what I'm going to call it. Because, listen, Dak Prescott got paid. But so did Zeke Elliott. Let's not forget, both have gotten their money, but for Dak, he has to come into this year like that 4th-round pick. He's got not the guy who's one of the highest-paid QBs in the league anymore, because there are a lot of questions about Dak still. And to be fair, it's the Cowboys' fault for a lot of that because they hemmed and hawed about whether to pay him, how long to pay him, how much to pay him. So there are questions about whether Dak can be the guy. But, Greeny, to your point with Zeke Elliott, you know, the 2 years that the Cowboys made the playoffs since Zeke has been drafted, he led the NFL in rushing, both of those years. So I understand that Dak, he's got to play at an elite level, but let's not forget about Zeke Elliott because as he goes, I think this offense goes as well.
Fascinating to me on a variety of fronts, including you went with Deke instead of Zach. You could have gone either way, really, in combining the two names. It works perfectly either way. Having said that, Mike Tannenbaum, is this an offense this year, for the Cowboys to be the best they can be, is this an offense that should be run first or pass first?
It has to be pass first because if they want to compete with the Tampa Bays of the world, which they will on opening night, they're going to have to score a lot of points. So a little bit different than Kimberly, I think this is pass to score and run to win. So if they put up a lot of points with 3 offensive linemen coming back, 2 number ones on the outside, and Zeke in the backfield, and they have the lead in the 4th quarter against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady on opening night, then you give the ball to Zeke and you play keep away. So you want to pass to score early, and then you want to run to end the game. So I think they have a chance to be the best of both worlds.
I mean, circle back to you, Nink, for a final word on that. Do you see this as a team at its apex, the very best they can possibly be? Are they a run-first team, which they have been in the past behind Zeke Elliott, or is this now officially Dak's time?
It's Dak's time. And look at the way the NFL has turned into the quarterbacks lead the teams. And look, Dak's going to have to play at a high level, and Zeke's going to have a better season, but they're going to have to rely on Dak to throw the ball accurately, and Zeke's going to have to run the ball better. He's going to have to be consistent, more consistent, and he's going to have to catch the ball better out of the backfield because they're going to use him in the screen game. I think that Zeke is one of the best screen catch and run type running backs in the league. So he's just going to have to be better. Defensively, they're going to have to be a lot better. So it's definitely Dak's time. They paid him like it's Dak's time. So now he's going to have to go out there and show us it's his time.
Kimber, I love the Deke of it all. I think that is, we're going to adopt that as the new official slogan of the Cowboys offense. Let's take a quick break on that thought. Coming back, there isn't any question who runs the offense in Tampa. It's that guy, Tom Brady. He's done a lot of talking this offseason. Coming up, the one thing he said that shocked a Hall of Famer is Brady playing mind games with. I'm Greeny. Delighted that you're here. Delighted they're here as well. Lots of football to get to this morning, and let's take a look at the squad we've put together to talk about it. Kimberly Martin's ready to break stories. Ninko's in the happiest place on earth. Mike Tannenbaum is walking laps this morning on our conference call. They're all ready to roll, but we begin with the game of the night last night. Bucks, Hawks, Game 4 in Atlanta. No Trae Young for the Hawks. Out with a bone bruise in his right foot as they try to even up this series with Milwaukee. And in the first quarter, Giannis just not feeling it. The three, that's nothing but air. First time this postseason that Giannis did not score in the first quarter. Milwaukee was down by 3 after 1. Second quarter, things got worse. Bucks down by 9. Now they turn it over. Here comes Cam Reddish for the easy finish. He had 12. Hawks by 11. Later, Bucks down by 9. Chris Middleton, no. Now we're going the other way. Rebound, fought for. It's going to be Lou Will who's going to come away with it. And Lou Will does what Lou Will does, which is he shoots over Giannis. Yes, it's good. He had 21. Hawks by 13 at the half. Third quarter, Milwaukee came out fired up, particularly the Greek Freak. Driving the lane, throwing it down. Oh, it looked like he was feeling it, and they were coming. They were down by 8, and then the moment that changes everything. Watch Giannis. Watch the knee buckle as he goes up to try to contest. He is down. It looks like the knee hyperextends. We'll show it to you one more time quickly. It's a terrible looking injury. It is one that probably shifts everything in this series and the rest of the playoffs. Malika reports he will undergo further testing on that knee today. Meanwhile, when he went down, the Hawks went nuts. But Bogdanovich with a 3, he scored 20, and then it's Clint Capella. Watch this shot. How does that go in? Clint Capella, 15 points on 6 of 7. Dikembe can't believe it. The Hawks pull away. They win it 110-88, playing without that man. But the story, of course, is Giannis.
He's in the locker room with the guys and just addressed the group and, but nothing, above and beyond or, we'll see how he is tomorrow. Our group, the character of it will come through, and we're going home. It's 2-2.
We'll see what happens with Giannis. It'll be great if he plays, but if he's not, we still have a capable team. We're going out there and winning.
Well, that's the right thing for him to say, but obviously losing Giannis would be a devastating blow to the Bucks in their quest for their first championship in 50 years. According to our Basketball Power Index, Milwaukee has a 48% chance to win the championship with him and only 23% without him. And so let me bring in my Uncle Seth, no relation, Seth Greenberg. Seth, assuming if Giannis misses any games in this postseason now, he would become the 10th All-Star to miss games with injury in the playoffs. And that doesn't include Trae Young because he wasn't an All-Star. What is the right thing to say about all of these injuries in these playoffs?
Basketball is a contact sport. Basketball is difficult on the body. The narrative that these injuries are due to overuse is just not, I don't see the justification. The NBA actually did a study and said it's not true. But you think about some of these injuries, and I'm going to include Trae's injury in it as well. I mean, these are basketball injuries. This is a basketball injury. You know what? When you go up in the air as high as he does and you're in traffic, there's a chance you can hyperextend your knee. If you're Kyrie Irving and you get in a lane and you land on someone's foot, there's a chance that you're going to hurt your ankle. If you're Kawhi Leonard, you've had injuries throughout the season and you've had rest, by the way. They've done what they needed to do in terms of limiting his minutes. So these are basketball injuries. It's great to have a narrative that it's overuse, but the reality is this is basketball. When you're in a crowd around the basket, when you're competing at this higher level, there are going to be injuries. Obviously terrible. You feel for Giannis. You feel for the Bucks. You feel for the Nets. But these things happen in the game of basketball. And when you have the very best players on the floor, they're going to happen. And you know what? Chris Paul's been hurt in playoffs before this. We've seen Kawhi Leonard been hurt throughout the season. It just happens.
Right. Again, Chris Paul's, the games that he missed were with COVID. So there's a million extenuating circumstances and all this. Having said all of that, Seth, and I agree with you, can the Bucks win this series without Giannis?
No chance. And you talk about Batman and Robin. Come on, give me a break now. I mean, Giannis gets some rebounds, gets some easy baskets. He defends. He plays ahead of the defense. You saw what happened. I mean, look, the Hawks got up and underneath Middleton, took away his drive, took away his jump shot, made him a driver. All right, they took him out of transition. Their inability they don't have enough guys that can just make a play. The Bucks are a team of role players surrounded by Giannis. And that's just the way it is. So this is a very good basketball team. But you know what? They don't have playmakers, and they don't even have shot makers if you take Middleton out of the equation. I mean, they're relying on Braden Forbes to come off the bench and knock down some jumpers. This series is over, even if Trey doesn't play. All right, you take Giannis off of this basketball team, the Bucks don't have a chance to win this series.
Game 5 is tomorrow night in Milwaukee. Again, we don't know either of these things, but it certainly feels as though there's a possibility it'll be played without Trae Young, who makes the Hawks go, and without Giannis, who makes the Bucks go. We will see. Meanwhile, we'll have much more with you, Seth, as the hour continues. Stay close by. Thank you. Meanwhile, we are 3 weeks away from our first NFL training camps opening.